All right. This is the Blaze the Lion podcast. I am your host, Blaze the Lion, Blaze Goldsmith. We are streaming. Audio version was available on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, and all your major streaming platforms. And we are live every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube. For this episode, this is a bonus episode under our umbrella of April's theme, which is book authors. So for today, we have a special guest, someone who has quite a story, quite a journey, and it touched me because it dealt with some personal issues that I've had to overcome and deal with as well. So this person has fought so many battles and has fought with a battle that many of us know about and have heard about, and that's the C word, right? Cancer. So for today, we have none other than today's guest, Mr. Chris Beats Cancer himself, Chris Walk. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks, Blaze. Good to be with you.
Awesome, awesome. So, I got your book. Well, before we even get into all of that, you see that I'm so excited. For those who don't exactly know who you are, share a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2003 with stage 3 colon cancer, and I made a decision after surgery to say no to chemotherapy and to radically change my life and to do everything in my power to help my body heal. And that meant taking massive action.
Mm,
And there's no quick fix or magic bullet or miracle cure for cancer, but the body creates cancer. These are your cells. This is your DNA. And the human body can heal cancer if given the proper nutrients and care. And when I learned that information, it gave me so much hope and enthusiasm and energy to take control of my life and my health and to chart my own course. And so I got well. And then 10 years later, I'm sorry, 6.5 years later, in 2010, I started a website called Chris Beat Cancer just to share my story and because I thought it might be helpful. And little did I know there was just a huge amount of demand for the information that I was sharing, just about nutrition and natural diet and lifestyle interventions that you can incorporate into your life to help you prevent or heal cancer. So, and I've written 3 books, and anyway, it's sort of taken over my life as I'm a full-time patient advocate and cancer survivor and author and speaker, and I don't know, I just do all kinds of stuff.
Did you have any idea how much of an impact you would have on this world as you were going through this bout, this struggle with cancer?
No, I didn't. Really didn't have any foresight at the time. I just wanted to get well.
Yeah.
That's all I cared about. It's like there's an old expression that is, a healthy person cares about everything, and the sick person just cares about one thing,
Mm,
right? And that's getting well. And so when I was diagnosed, it was, my life came to a grinding halt, and I just realized everything that I cared about no longer mattered. All the insignificant petty things that I was worried about or that bothered me, right? And things that I wanted to do with my life, things I thought were important, they all just sort of melted away. And the only thing left was survival
yeah.
and being alive for my wife and for my parents. That's who I had to live for at the time. I didn't have any children at the time, and so I just realized I have to live for these people. And that helped me get very clear on what I had to live for and why I needed to live, why I needed to survive and thrive. And it helped guide the decisions I made because I decided to make decisions that would only support health and healing and not to do anything that would be potentially destructive or harmful to my body.
Yeah. It's when your back is against the wall, right? That's when you realize, one, what's really important, right? And the things that we were stressing about, the things that we weren't too pleased with, those things don't matter, right? And the body is amazing. The body is resilient. The body is powerful. And as a personal trainer myself, I deal with many clients, and I hear the struggles with diet, right? With nutrition, and people want abs. They want to get right. They want to get better. They want to get to their goals. They want that six pack or whatever their goals are. And you tell them, all right, so it's not really about you doing 1,000 crunches a day. It's about what's in your fridge. And they don't want to hear that. They don't want to go into that because they have the comfort food, and food, like it makes them feel comfortable. And, when the women are on their cycle, and just so many things. And many of my clients know my own journey, how I turned vegan five years ago, and I totally changed my practices and how I train clients and such. And unfortunately, I've had a couple clients come to me who were battling cancer, or who they had their father battling cancer, or someone in their family. And it's tough getting that weight, that strain. Like, well, don't I mean, I'm no doctor. I'm a personal trainer, and I know what has worked for me. Um, but this is what I've learned. This is what I've done my research on. This is what has helped me. So in your journey, I can only imagine when you were going through that, and you chose a more holistic route. Did you get? I'm sure you got like the pushback, right?
Absolutely. Doctors, there's some great doctors out there. There's also some lousy ones.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell the difference, right? It's very hard to tell until it's too late, right? And you're a victim of medical malpractice, right? Or neglect.
Mm.
And so a lot of people in my family sort of just assumed and trusted that the medical establishment is really operating in the best interest of patients.
Yeah.
And the reality is they're not. They're operating in the best interest of their shareholders. So the pharmaceutical industry exists to make as much money as possible for their shareholders. And they don't care if you get well. In fact, it's better for them if you don't get well. It's better for them if you get on a prescription drug or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, and you take them for the rest of your life, because you become a lifelong customer.
Yeah.
And the pharmaceutical industry funds the medical industry. It funds medical education and medical universities and research. And so doctors are indoctrinated by the pharmaceutical industry to believe that drugs are the only solution to chronic disease. But we all know that most drugs don't cure chronic disease.
No.
You have to get on them for life. You're never cured. All the drugs do is help you live with a disease and help you manage the side effects of that disease and make it more tolerable. But and so that's part of the problem. The other problem is that, again, doctors are not educated in the fact that the body can heal chronic disease and prevent chronic disease with diet and lifestyle interventions, and that our current Western diet is one that is promoting rampant chronic disease. Now, when I say chronic disease, let me be clear. Chronic disease is different than infectious disease, right? Infectious disease comes on you suddenly, right? You get a virus, a bacteria, right? And you have an immediate reaction to it and you get sick. Chronic disease takes many years to develop. It's developed slowly over time. And the diseases under the chronic disease umbrella are heart disease, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, cancer, autoimmune disease. These are chronic lifestyle diseases. They're also known as diseases of affluence. What that means is that in the richest countries in the world, they have the highest rates of those diseases. Okay? They're diseases of affluence. They're diseases that affect rich people. Now, you may be listening to this and you may be thinking, well, I'm not rich, right? But the reality is, if you live in the United States, the poorest people in the United States are vastly wealthier than the poorest people in other parts of the world, because we still have access to food, to shelter, to clothing, to government assistance, and to things like that. And so the adulteration of our food supply is the number one driver of all this chronic disease, because we're not growing our own food anymore. We're buying factory farmed animal products. We're eating way too much meat and dairy, more than your ancestors ever did. We're eating tons of fast food, processed food, and junk food. Foods that are made in factories with all types of artificial additives, artificial flavors, colors, preservatives, stuff that your body was never meant to ingest, right? These are things that chemical compounds not found in nature, right? That were created in laboratories to make food look better or smell better or taste better, right? Or stay on the shelf longer. And when you start thinking this way, you realize, wow, today humans are living a lifestyle that is vastly different than our ancestors. And it's not necessarily better. In fact, in many ways, it's worse. We're not getting sunshine. We're not getting as much fresh air. We're not getting as much exercise. So to connect all the dots, we know that up to 90% of cancers are caused by your diet, lifestyle, and your environment. Those three factors. And so the diet I've kind of just touched on, it's the Western diet. It's the standard American diet. Tons of meat and dairy, tons of processed food, fast food, and junk food. The lifestyle factors are smoking. That's the number one cause of cancer. And if you want to prevent cancer, the biggest step you can take if you're a smoker is to stop smoking.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's the number one cause. The second leading cause of cancer is obesity. And guess what? That's tied into our diet and our lifestyle choices, right? When you eat a poor diet, tons of processed food, meat and dairy, and you don't exercise, your body's gonna gain weight, right? When you eat more calories than you need in a given day, your body's gonna convert those calories to fat and store them as energy, right? For later. That's what fat is. It's just stored energy. And but again, we're just eating more food than we need, and we're not moving our bodies as much as we should, and we're adding a few pounds a year, and then 5 or 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, you're significantly overweight or obese.
Yeah.
And so there's no judgment in being overweight or obese. I'm not here to fat shame anyone. Just here to tell the truth. And when you're overweight, it's a burden on your body, and it's being overweight and obese. It's been clinically proven to increase inflammation in your body and suppress your immune system. That's why it's not a coincidence that the people who were at the highest risk of death from that virus that went around the world were also obese. Elderly, obese, and with multiple chronic diseases like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. So a suppressed immune system and chronic inflammation is a recipe for disease. So the cool thing is, and the good news is, that you can make choices to your daily routine that suppress inflammation, right? That reduce inflammation, that improve the function of your immune system, strengthen your immune system. And you don't have to have, you don't have to be rich. You don't have to be good looking. Like, all you have to do is be willing to change your daily routine. Right?
Change.
You just have to be willing to change. This kind of ties into what you said, right? Because a lot of people don't want to change.
Nope.
Right? They don't want to give up their bad habits.
Nope.
And I understand that. I get it. It was easy for me to change because I had cancer, right? And so to me, it was like, that was a pretty strong motivator. Okay. Having said that, there's a lot of cancer patients that are unwilling to change.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Which is, it sounds surprising, but we get very attached to our routine and to our favorite things, and change is scary, right? That's why humans avoid change. We don't like the unknown. We like what we're comfortable with. And we like to sort of put ourselves in a bubble, so to speak, or put our head in the sand and assume that nothing that we're doing in our daily life is affecting us.
Hmm.
And the truth is that your choices matter. And every day you're sowing seeds of health or disease every single day, right? And you're going to reap a harvest of health or disease based on the choices you make each day. That's good. That's empowering, right? Because if you're going down the path of disease, you can get off that path.
Yeah.
Right? You can jump over onto the healthy path, right? And go down that one. And you will start to see changes and improvements in your body, in your energy, in your brain function, right? In your immune system. All kinds of things improve when you change your daily routine. So, I was really encouraged and inspired by just this simple truth that our choices matter. And that for me, this revelation was the way I'm living is killing me.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
The way I'm living is killing me. So I think I need to change the way I'm living my life. And it started with the diet. So I converted to a raw, whole food, plant-based diet, all raw, all organic. And that was the first step that I took in massive, radical life change. I bought a juicer, started juicing. I found a naturopathic doctor. I found an integrative oncologist who supported me. And if your doctor doesn't support you, find another doctor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them out there and they're not all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And, your doctor works for you, right? They're not your boss. Okay. They work for you. So if your doctor is bossing you around or trying to intimidate you or coerce you, find another doctor, because that is not a good one.
And so many of them are not healthy themselves.
Thank you for bringing that up. Look around. Line up 100 doctors. You will not see 100 pictures of health, right? 100 specimens of excellent health and vitality. You won't. There'll be some healthy ones in there, but you'll be surprised how many doctors are overweight or obese. How many doctors are smoking cigarettes still? How many doctors have drinking problems or prescription drug problems? And doctors are humans. They're not angels, right? Yeah. Unlike the way they're portrayed on a lot of television shows. They have all the same problems and faults and flaws that you do. And on any given day, they could do a great job or a lousy job.
Yeah.
So doctors are useful for certain things, mainly for trauma care and, go to the hospital. You got a bullet wound in your chest, go to the hospital.
Yeah.
You have a life-threatening infection.
Not going to help that.
Yeah. Life-threatening infection, bacterial infection. You need some antibiotics, go to the hospital, right? But don't expect medical doctors to cure you of cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, because they've done an incredibly poor job in that department. And I talk about this a lot in my first book. There's several chapters that are really sort of deep dive expose chapters on the medical, pharmaceutical, and cancer industries. And it'll blow your mind how much you don't know about these industries and how corrupt they are, right? I'm not saying everyone's corrupt, but generally speaking, there's so much corruption and so much greed that almost every policy in the medical industry is driven by greed. It's driven by how can we make the most money as possible, not how can we save the most lives, right?
No.
How can we cure the most disease? Those are not the questions they're trying to answer. The question is, how can we make more money? So this is why old drugs are often tossed aside in favor of new drugs, because the new drugs are patented and they can generate billions of dollars. So drug companies spend a lot of money, billions of dollars, to develop new drugs, to market those new drugs to doctors, and to convince doctors to prescribe new drugs instead of old drugs, when the old drugs worked fine. So that's one small sliver of what's going on in that industry. So it doesn't matter what happens to the patient. What matters is how much money can we make. So once you understand that, then you should have a healthy level of skepticism towards conventional medicine, right? And toward the cancer industry. And they use a lot of fear to manipulate patients into saying yes to treatment. And look, we've seen what fear does to people. in the
Hmm.
last 2 years, the world got a little taste of what it's like to be a cancer patient.
Hmm.
Because in the cancer world, there's so much fear, and patients are coerced and manipulated into saying yes to treatments that they do not understand,
That is the only option.
right? They're told it's your only option, and they have no idea what the side effects are going to be. They have no idea if the treatment is even going to cure them or help them. They have no idea if the treatment is going to make them worse and what type of long-term damage is going to be caused by chemotherapy drugs in their body.
Yeah.
They have no idea what they're going in completely blind and fully trusting the oncologist and in a state of fear. And so when you're in a state of fear, you don't make good decisions. It's not possible. You can't think clearly or rationally or logically. You just are impulsive and rash.
Hmm.
And so look around the world. Look at the impulsive, rash, irrational behavior that happened around the world in the last 2 years out of fear, just constant fear mongering every single day on every news channel, all over social media, from politicians, from TV doctors, from government officials, and even from celebrities who've been influenced by these other people, right?
Churches also.
In the church, yes, churches. And, fear is contagious. It's infectious. It spreads like a virus. And so, and look at the result. Look at the state of the world right now, right? We're not better, right? There's so much collateral damage and calamity and confusion and loss as a result of fear-driven public policy.
Yeah.
And so, from the very beginning of the pandemic, I was one of the few people saying this is not a good strategy, right? This is because I'd already seen it. I'd lived through it with cancer. I've seen it in the cancer community.
Yeah.
We cannot manipulate people with fear. This is wrong, especially manipulating them into taking a brand new drug that has no long-term safety testing. That's wrong. And a drug that made the pharmaceutical industries billions and billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars, right? And they have no legal liability.
None.
Right? I mean, this is wrong. And but most of the public wouldn't hear it. They would not hear it.
Oh.
And doctors who spoke out were censored and deleted from their platforms. And it's unbelievable. So here's the good news. The good news is that you can take control of your life and your health. You don't have to be dependent on the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry and politicians and government bureaucrats to keep you healthy. And if you are dependent on them, you are doing so at your peril. They are going to let you down. They will fail you. Okay. The healthcare industry does not care about your health. I'm going to repeat it. The healthcare industry does not care about your health. Okay. They act like they do. They talk a good game, but they care about money.
Yeah.
And so you have the power to change your life and your health. You have the power to choose what you put in your mouth every day. You have the power to choose to exercise every day, right? You have the power to choose to forgive people who've hurt you. Because if you're carrying bitterness and anger and resentment toward people who've hurt you, it's causing you distress, right? Those unresolved emotions are causing you distress. And when you're in a state of distress, you're going to look for ways to self-medicate. And that's what leads us to overeating, to tobacco, to alcohol, to pharmaceuticals, to the illegal drugs, right? And to all the other unhealthy, self-medicating habits, whether it's sex addiction or porn or gambling or whatever, being a shopaholic, right? Spending more money than you have, those kind of things. And so you got to get to the root cause of your pain, right? You got to get to the root cause of your pain, or else you're going to
hitting the nail on the head right now, Chris.
Good.
We're carrying so much trauma and so much baggage, and very few people want to get to that root cause. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I addicted? Why do I crave certain foods? It's not just because it tastes good. That's one element, but it's so much more.
Right. Food is medicine, and food is medication. right? It can serve as both.
Mhm.
And if you're not willing to revisit your past and forgive everyone who has ever hurt you, by the way, this is something that I did. If you're not willing to do that, then um, your pain will persist,
Mhm.
and you will constantly be drawn to ways of medicating your pain. It's also just busyness, right? Being a workaholic, right? Spending all your time binge watching Netflix, spending all your time on social media, like anything that you're doing to distract your conscious mind, right, from your troubles, right? And there is a better way, right? If you have a problem and you want to solve that problem, you have to get to the cause.
Mhm.
If your roof is leaking, you can put a bucket under it, right? And you can keep changing that bucket out every time it gets full. But eventually, you're going to forget, and that bucket's going to fill up, and then it's going to overflow, and then you're going to have a bigger water problem, or your ceiling's going to get saturated with water, and then it's going to fall in,
And yeah,
right?
worse to
So,
worse.
so what's the solution, right? There's water dripping from the ceiling. You got to get up in the attic, figure out where the leak's coming in, right? And then probably get on the roof and patch the hole,
Yeah.
right? Problem solved, right? You did not medicate your problem. You solved it. And so this isn't just about, your diet. It's about your mental and emotional state and what's causing
Mhm.
you mental and emotional pain. And again, I talk about this these things a lot in my first two books, Chris Beat Cancer and Beat Cancer Daily, because it's really the missing piece of the puzzle that I just, after coaching countless cancer patients and being a survivor for 18 years, it's just the one thing that's missing from the conversation. The diet and lifestyle advice is so important. You got to do it, but you also have to look inside and really get real with yourself and be honest with yourself about who you are, about what you believe, and about where the source of your pain is.
Mm.
So I made a decision. I'm going to forgive every person who's ever hurt me by name.
Mm.
And you can't just do it in an instant. You have to sit down and think through your life, right? You have to revisit
It's a
those
process.
memories,
Yeah.
the people that have hurt you in life.
And it's
And you have
not comfortable.
no, you have to get uncomfortable,
Mhm.
right? Get uncomfortable, revisit the painful memories, and as the memories come up, one by one, you deal with that person, right? That person that hurt you in whatever way they did. And the way I do it, I would just say, God, you know what they did, right? And you know how I feel about it. It still hurts, right? I'm still angry. I'm still resentful. I'm still bitter, right? But I'm choosing to forgive them, and I'm letting it go,
Yeah.
and I'm giving it to you. They're all yours. That's forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is a choice. It's not a feeling. Because I don't want to forgive. I don't want to, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't want to forgive them, but I'm
Mhm.
choosing to forgive them.
Mhm.
And so that's the simple forgiveness prayer that I just laid out. It's like, okay, you know what they did, God, and you know how I feel about it, but I'm going to forgive them. You can deal with them. I'm not going to hold on to the anger and the bitterness and the resentment anymore. Forgive me for holding on to it for so long.
Mhm.
And I'm asking you to bless them.
Yeah.
So not only am I saying I'm letting go of this hurt and this pain, I'm asking you to bless the person who hurt me. And I know they don't deserve it, right?
There's so much power in that. Quick story. Last year, I had an injury. I had an ankle injury, and my ankle was swollen. And I'm a personal trainer. I'm very active, so I sometimes I get injured lifting heavy weight, or I fell down the
Been
stairs,
there. Been
and
there too.
all sorts of things. Right? I have the herniated disc from past, injuries or whatever. But last year, my ankle swelled up, and every morning it was painful to get out of bed. I couldn't put pressure on it. I was in a wheelchair, walker, crutches, all of this. I went to doctors, got x-rays, MRIs, and they said, your foot is fine. We don't know the cause. You sure you didn't? No, I didn't do anything. We can't find anything. I'm like, it hurts. They're like, there is a little bit of fluid around the ankle, but my girlfriend is the one who said, I feel that it's some unresolved unforgiveness and resentment that you're carrying that's in your foot. And it's in your foot because it's blocking you from moving forward. And that blew my mind. I was like, that's really deep, but I don't know. When I started texting these people and calling these people and just saying, hey, what you did hurt me, but I forgive you, each week the ankle got better. The ankle got better. And I would tell this to doctors, and they're like, yeah, well, okay, well, that's cool, but make sure that you wrap your ankle and you ice it and you blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, but nothing changed except the fact that I resolved that baggage that I was holding on to. It's crazy how the body works.
That is an amazing story, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I love it. You know, there's so much going on in our subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we are a spirit, mind, and body, right? We're all, it's all connected.
Yeah.
And when your subconscious mind is in a state of distress, that will manifest in your physical body.
Yeah.
So this is not woo-woo stuff. And I mean, this is scientifically and medically proven, but most doctors haven't seen the research,
Yeah.
right? They're not trained on this stuff in med school,
Yeah.
right? They're not trained on stress and how harmful negative emotions are to your physical health. And so not only do they lead us to self-medicate, which causes more harm down the road, but they also can cause, you know, physical manifestation, right? Physical pain, inflammation, immunosuppression. So yeah, that's amazing. And the good news again is you don't need a prescription drug,
No.
right? You don't need money to forgive. You just need to choose to do it. And so I would sit down periodically and just think through my life and like, okay, is there anybody I need to forgive? And I would think about, you know, first grade, second grade, you know, kids on the playground, kids from the neighborhood, people, you know, friends and family, like family members, coworkers. You know, I'm scouring through my memory, just really digging. Anybody, is there anybody, in anything, big or small, doesn't matter. Like I'm just trying to clear the decks.
Yeah.
And I did, you know, I just cleared them all. And finally it was like, there's no one left. Right? There's no one left to forgive. Now, guess what? New people will show up and they'll piss you off and you got to forgive them, right? I've been on the internet for 12 years as a public figure, and yeah, people have said all kinds of mean things to me and they continue to say mean things. And I just forgive them, right? I don't hold on to it. I don't get mad. I don't get upset. I just see it for what it is. It's a person that's choosing to lash out at me, and I forgive them. And so that's the other part of the equation is forgiving everyone from your past, forgiving yourself for your mistakes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And being quick to forgive when people hurt you going forward, right? Just be quick to forgive. Don't let some person who cuts you off in traffic ruin your day. You know what I mean? Or
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it personally. You know, so something I like to talk about is, and I talk about this in my second book, Beat Cancer Daily, which is kind of like a daily devotional. It's 365 pages and you just read one page per day. But a concept that comes up multiple times in that book is just this idea of refusing to be offended, right? Because offense is a choice, right? You choose to be offended and you can choose not to be.
Yeah.
And right now we're living in this culture where people have taken offense, right? The expression take offense, right? You're taking it. They're taking offense at every opportunity, right? And they're getting offended on behalf of other people who aren't even offended, right? Right? I mean, just go on Twitter. Everybody's outraged, right? Everybody is so angry and offended and outraged at everything in the world they could possibly find fault with. And there is an alternative, which is, and it doesn't mean everything in the world's great. Sure, there's lots of problems. No doubt. There's lots of injustice. No doubt. But for your own health and sanity and wellness, you're much better off choosing not to be offended, not to be upset, not to be angry. And if there's a solution that you can be a part of, go for it, right? Work on a solution instead of just pulling your hair out and screaming hysterically, right? About something that you don't like in the world.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're just making yourself miserable and you're not helping the problem.
No. Fighting with people in the comments is not making the world a better place.
No, it's not. And it just makes you more and more miserable.
Yeah.
Right? That's all it does. It just increases your own personal unhappiness. And so I choose not to be offended by anything anyone says to me directly or by anything I read that anyone says about anything. Right? Right? I mean, people say lots of mean things and ugly things about white males, right? Or about Christians or about tall people. You know what I'm saying? Or about 45-year-olds. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of mean things that have been said, and I can choose to be offended or not. And I choose not to.
Yeah.
And that keeps me light. I'm able to float through life without being weighed down and burdened down by all the baggage that wants to attach to you. Right? That expression like, oh, they got a lot of baggage. What is baggage? Right? Baggage is anger, bitterness, resentment. Right? That's what it is. It's unforgiveness. That's baggage. And the more people that come in and out of your life that you choose not to forgive, the more baggage you carry.
Yeah.
And you can put the bags down. Right? It's called forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah. So earlier you were expressing the truth, right, about the pharmaceutical industry and just what is going on. And I get accused of this, and many of my friends and such, we get accused of this label or this title because we are exposing truth. And they label us and they say we are the conspiracy theorists, right? And you all feel like everyone's out to get you, and it's not that deep. And just do what you want in life and have fun because you only get one life and blah 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 blah. And I hear that all the time, and I'm like, I just shake my head because it's like we're not saying to live in fear and to feel like everyone around you is trying to harm you. But unfortunately, a lot of these billion-dollar industries, they're billion-dollar industries for a reason, right? They're fueled by greed, by the money. So unfortunately, that could mean your doctor who you love so much, but who's making money off of you every month because they've told you that there's no cure for what you have, and the best option you have is, to get those meds or to get those shots every month. So to that, like, what would you say of that label that we get sometimes?
Well, it's important to understand that incentives are what make the world go round. Incentives. And so in any situation, you have to ask yourself, okay, what are the incentives? Right? And in the medical industry, the incentive is money. How do we make more money? You can call it a conspiracy or not, but the reality is it's just true. Pfizer paid the largest criminal fine in United States history for conspiring to mislead doctors and the public about a drug. Right? They're a convicted felon. That drug company, convicted of a felony. So they're criminals. Not every employee is a criminal, but if an organization engages in criminal behavior and is convicted of criminal behavior, that's a criminal organization. Okay. So it doesn't mean everything they do is illegal. Of course not. So, you can put your head in the sand and just say every insinuation or speculation is a conspiracy theory. But if you really want to understand the way the world works, the way business works, the way the medical industry and pharmaceutical industry work, and the way politics work, It's all about money, right? Greed is the biggest driver of all conspiracies. It's pretty much greed and power. So, people that say that, it doesn't bother me. They're just ignorant. They really have not spent any time to educate themselves on how these industries work and what the incentives are. And yeah, I
And
just
many
don't.
of them, sorry to cut you off, and many of them work in the hospitals.
Sure, absolutely.
And they're still,
Yeah. I mean, ignorance is bliss,
yeah.
right? And so there's a cognitive dissonance that exists with a lot of people, and of course people in the medical industry, but also just the general public. They don't want to know, right?
Mhm.
Because then when you're like, oh great, now what do I do?
I gotta
Right?
change.
When you realize how corrupt some of these industries are, it's like, then you're like, oh no, now it's up to me. I was hoping I could just put all my faith, hope, and trust in a doctor and he could fix me, right? And then you realize, oh wait, they probably can't fix you. Now it's up to you.
Yeah.
And the other problem with our culture now is, aside from everyone being offended about everything, is this victim's mentality. And
Mhm.
victimhood makes you powerless. And the average cancer patient, they ask their doctor, why did I get cancer? And they're told, well, it's nothing you did. It's either bad luck or maybe genetic. And what that does, what they're saying is, you are a powerless victim of disease.
Mm.
Nothing you did contributed to your condition.
Mm.
And there's nothing you can do to help yourself except show up for your next appointment, take this medication, show up for chemo, schedule surgery to cut out some body parts, right? These are your only options.
Mm.
Oh, doesn't matter that you're obese and you're an alcoholic and you smoke cigarettes and you're taking 3 prescription medications, some of which are known to cause cancer because they tell you right there at the end of the commercial. Oh no, it's none of that. Right? It's not any of that. You don't need to change any of those things, right? You just need to take another drug, right? Or have a
Mhm.
surgery. I mean, and that's how ludicrous. It sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly what is happening in doctor's appointments every single day, all day, especially in the cancer world.
Hmm.
And the empowering message is that you can change your life. And in doing so, you can change your health. And
Yeah.
it just starts with your daily routine. What are you having for breakfast? What are you having for lunch? What are you having for dinner? Are you taking deliberate time each day to exercise, even if it's just walking for 20 or 30 minutes? Are you making time each day to get some sunshine on your skin, 10, 15, 20 minutes? Are you making time each day to think about the problems in your life and forgive people who've hurt you, right? And to deal with your stress in a healthy way, right? To make plans to remove stressful people and obligations from your life, to simplify your life. See, these are all things you can do.
Yeah.
And these are all things I did. I had to learn how to do, and what I teach people how to do now. And so, you know, I think there's a big silver lining in the last 2 years. And that's that more people now than ever are awake. They've seen the coercion and the fear
Yeah.
and how the pharmaceutical industry rushed these drugs to market with no long-term safety testing. They've seen people around them drop dead suddenly. They've seen all these celebrities and athletes drop dead and have major heart problems. They've seen other doctors and really good people, scientists and research, be canceled for speaking up
Yeah.
against big pharma. And even people in the medical community, right? So more doctors than I've ever seen in my lifetime have stood up in opposition to these drugs that were just rushed to market in 2021. I've never seen this many doctors. I don't think there ever has been in history this many doctors saying this drug is bad. Don't take it. Do not get another dose. So I take great encouragement in what I'm seeing happening, even though it's very distressing to see how many people were misled and coerced and have suffered and some died as a result of these horrible public health policy measures. I think it's just going to be a great awakening for people, because they're just, hopefully the general public is just thinking, never again, right? We're not doing that again.
They're seeing it now. They are beginning to lift the bans. They're beginning to, the airline companies are beginning to call back the employees that they let go, and so things are shifting. And it's like all of that we went through. The unvaccinated were judged so harshly, and all this that we went through, and now you're seeing like, man, this was all fair. This was,
Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom, right, before you are willing to change,
yeah,
right? You have to go through extreme difficulty, right, to have that awakening in your personal life. And so cancer did that for me. And cancer is the opportunity to change your life. When you're faced with a difficult circumstance, like a difficult diagnosis, this is a divine tap on the shoulder, right? And it's an opportunity for you to change, to take control of your life and your health, and to stop doing the things that were promoting disease. And so on the global, more macro perspective, my hope is that more people, millions of people, have also, after having suffered through all this pain and anxiety and distress and confusion for 2 years, have now come out on the other side with a very different perspective.
Yeah.
And I hope it unites us, right? I'm not anybody's enemy. Like, I have no enemies. People may decide that they're my enemy, but I don't have any personal enemies, right? Right? Like, we're all in this together, and we've got to help each other, and we have to also be aware of when we're being manipulated for profit, right? And that's exactly what happened. It was a massive manipulation to generate billions of dollars, and the regulators and people who were shareholders and stakeholders just looked the other way while it happened. You got to remember, I didn't mention this earlier, but the pharmaceutical industry, they're one of the largest advertisers on television.
Yeah.
They're one of the largest contributors to politicians, to the government, to the CDC, and to the FDA. And if you don't think there's bias, you're just naive, right? The pharmaceutical industry is arguably one of the most powerful and influential industries on the planet. And I said earlier, they control medical education, right? They're running ads on TV. They're funding the news organizations. They're funding politicians. And then you've got a lot of other people in power that own stock in the drug companies. And so they want the drug companies to do well.
And those stocks were...
Yeah. And so that, that's what's driving behind the scenes, right? Those are the incentives that were pushing this agenda behind the scenes. And everyone was just told, like, oh, we just have to protect ourselves and just love your neighbor and wear a mask, right? Right. Love your neighbor and take this new drug because you love your neighbor like Jesus. Right. I mean, this is what we were told. It's like, wait, whoa, hang on, hold on, back up. So a little bit of rational and critical thinking skills are important, and independent thinking skills. And I had a trial by fire with cancer, and it taught me a lot about those industries, obviously, which I wrote about in my first book. And my first book came out in 2018. So it was, kind of was able to educate a lot of people before this went down. So a lot of people in my audience, already had this, a knowledge base. And like I said earlier, a healthy level of skepticism toward the cancer and the pharmaceutical and medical industries. Not to just assume everything they said was for your own best interest, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, as a patient advocate, part of what I do is, it's like, I have sort of two two things that I talk about, right? One is I'm trying to make people aware of the perils and pitfalls of conventional medicine, right? So that they are not hoodwinked, right? They are not used and abused and coerced into taking drugs or cancer therapies that are incredibly harmful and have little prospect of saving their life. And then on the other hand, I'm also showing them how to actually take control of your life and your health, and the most powerful anti-cancer foods, right? And the most powerful diet and lifestyle therapies, natural, non-toxic therapies that you can incorporate into your life to help yourself dramatically drop your risk of ever getting cancer or heart disease or diabetes, and dramatically increase your risk of survival if you have a cancer diagnosis. And help you reverse these chronic diseases. I mean, we've got so many people in our community that have reversed all kinds of cancers and chronic diseases. I mean, the body can heal.
Absolutely.
If you're willing to change. And if you take responsibility for your life, and like I did, and you're willing to say, you know what, maybe this is my fault. Right? Maybe this is my fault. And if it's my fault, then maybe I need to change. If I contributed to my illness, then maybe I can contribute to my wellness. Right? It just starts with just that small amount of rational, objective thinking about your life, right? And your health and your choices and where they have led you today. Because where you are right now today is the sum total of all the choices you've made in the past, right? All your choices got you here, right? Wherever here is, it got you in the house you're in. It got you with the family you're with, not your parents, obviously, but with your spouse. It got you in your job. Your choices got you in the city you're in, right? Your choices, they got you the body, right? Right? Either it's fit or it's unfit, right? Either it's slim and trim or it's overweight, right? They got you your hairstyle. So your choices, you have probably 99% of your life is controlled by you.
Taking accountability.
By your choices. There's some things that are totally out of your control, but almost all of it is in your control. And so to go through life as a victim is to put yourself in a state of powerlessness. And then you're at mercy. You're at the mercy of whoever and whatever is around you that's happening. And, if you just decide I'm not going to be a victim anymore, like I'm going to make choices and change my life, and I'm going to work hard and do everything in my power to achieve what I want to achieve, then you will find so much more fulfillment and happiness and joy in your life than just being mad at everybody and accusing everyone of causing all your problems, right?
It's eye-opening.
We all have privileges and we all have disadvantages, right? All of us. We all have different ones. We all have different skills. Some of us are smarter. Some of us are stronger. Some of us are more athletic. Some of us are born with more money. Some of us are born in a unique set of circumstances or go through hardship that makes us smarter and wiser than the person who didn't have hardship, right? And so when you step back and take stock and like look at your life, like, wait, what do I have? What skills do I have? What has life taught me? Like, that makes me unique and strong and versatile. And how am I empowered with my life and my skills and my background, right? We all have those things. And the big lesson here is like, when I had cancer, I had every reason to be miserable, right? I'm 26 years old. I'm just starting my life as an adult, just out of college a couple of years. I get this diagnosis. Everything's, it's like everything's terrible now, right? When am I going to die? Am I going to even make 30? Like what? Like just this sucks. And I learned in that terrible season of life that I could either focus on the bad things, cancer, or I could focus on the good things. And so I started practicing gratitude. right? And I just started, whenever I would start to get afraid or frustrated or angry or jealous of others or whatever, right? When those negative emotions started to creep in, I could just stop myself and say, all right, hang on. What do I have that's good? Right? What do I have that's good? I've got a wife who loves me. I've got a home, a roof over my head.
Yeah.
I have a car. I have enough money in the bank to pay my next set of bills.
Mm-hmm.
I can see, I can hear, I can talk, I can walk,
Yeah.
I can work, right? I am not afraid of being blown up or killed or hit by a rocket when I leave my house
Yeah.
or in my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have access to food. I can do this all day. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm rich. You know what I mean? I have
Mm-hmm.
so much to be thankful for. So much. And that would just, that's what gratitude is. It's counting your blessings. It's just taking a minute to say, you know what? There's some bad stuff in my life. There's some stuff I'm not happy about, but there's a lot of stuff that I am happy about that is good in my life. And let me just remind myself of all the good things I have. Because I promise you right now, there's someone dying in the hospital
Hmm.
who would give anything to trade places with you.
Hmm.
I promise you, right? Right now, there's not just one person. There's a lot of people in the hospital that
Yeah.
would love your problems. Okay? They would love your problems because their problem is I'm dying.
Yeah.
So that's my major gratitude hack right there. I just remind myself of that one thing, right? There are people dying in the hospital right now. Why am I complaining? Why am I frustrated? Like, this is insignificant. You know, whatever this problem or irritation is, right? This is insignificant. Like, I need a hard reset on the perspective. And that's how I do it. I just remind myself of like the reality is people are dying today. People are starving today. It's not cliche. Like, it's truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to let minor irritations and aggravations and insults and frustrations steal my joy, because they will. I'm not going to let fear and worry about an unknown future steal my joy. I'm not going to let bitterness and resentment from people in my past steal my joy.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, if I hope all that rambling makes sense to some of your listeners.
No, 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 definitely, definitely. You touched on so many parts, and it's so fitting because next month in May, our theme is mental health, and it's so fitting that so much of what we go through, what we physically endure, what we struggle, it is here. You know, from how we see life, if we choose to walk in gratitude. And thank God, in the midst of the pandemic, I dove into the meditation and just sitting still. I went for prayer walks because I
Hmm.
was bored. I was like, what else can I do? I can't go to work. I can't. So just going for prayer walks and just getting into meditation and just being still. And then certain answers that I was looking for, couldn't find, they were there. It's like, oh, all I needed to do was sit still and read a book, or sit still and just walk, or just sit still at a park or in my car, wherever it was. So there's so much power in your mindset and how you view your problems, because we all have problems. You know, it doesn't matter if you make the $15 an hour or if you make $100,000 an hour, right? It doesn't matter. We're all going through something. We're all struggling with something, and it's your perspective. It's how you choose to deal with it.
Yeah,
And
I love what she said. Everyone has problems.
mm-hmm,
Rich people have problems, poor people have
mm-hmm,
problems. They're different problems, but what is the same, right, is that we all have the ability and the power to choose how we interpret life
yeah,
and how we interpret our surroundings and our problems and how we address them, right? How we deal with them. We all have a choice on whether to be a victim, right, or a victor, right?
mm-hmm,
We all have a choice to see a problem as a bad thing or a problem as a good thing,
yeah,
right? Like, this problem is an opportunity. And, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. And, one of the things that encourages me so much is that Romans 8:28 says that God works all things for the good of those who love him
Mm.
and who are called according to his purpose.
Mm.
And so, you know what that means? That means every problem that comes at you, God is going to work it for your good. All things. He works all things. An old pastor that's long gone loved to say, all means all, and that's all means, right? He works all things for your good. So that gives me so much encouragement, when
Yeah.
things are not going my way. And when I got cancer, that was the first verse I thought of, right? It was the
Mm.
first scripture that came to mind. God works
Mm.
all things for the good of those who love him. So I was like, this goes all the way back to the question. I think one of the first questions you asked me, it's like, I had to make a decision right in the beginning to believe, to put my faith in God, and to believe that he was going to work it for my good.
Yeah.
I didn't have a big plan. I
Yeah.
had no plan on starting a website or writing books or being on the Blaze the Lion podcast. Right? I just wanted to survive,
Yeah.
but I believed he would work it for my good. And I had a small sense that maybe something bigger would come of it, but that was it, right? Maybe something bigger would come of it.
Mm-hmm.
And something way bigger came out of that, and bigger than I could have even dreamed or imagined. It's just the opportunity to share my story and encourage people and help them get on the healthy path and restore their health. I mean, it's like the coolest thing ever to be able to do what I get to do.
Yeah.
And and I love what you said about being still and meditating and getting quiet with your thoughts and resting. These are things that we need to do, right? When you
Mhm.
get quiet and still, guess what? Those unresolved emotions and things that they come to the surface,
Yeah.
right? And when they come to the surface of your conscious mind, that's the opportunity to deal with them, right? To forgive that person or to think about this problem that you have and think about a solution instead of kind of like pushing it to the side, which just causes you more stress, right? Like procrastination, problem avoidance causes you more stress, right? That nagging problem that you're like, oh, I'll deal with it later. No, just buckle down, deal with the problem.
Deal with it.
Because then the stress evaporates, right? Like and the example I love to give is like doing my taxes, right? Because when it's tax time, I get a little stressed about it. I'm like, I got to get all my taxes together. I got to go through my receipts. And you know what I mean? It's like, I don't enjoy it.
No.
And I dread it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel anxiety and stress. And I procrastinate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do all the things that that I'm saying, don't do this. I do all the things. And then finally I do buckle down and I'm doing it. And I work on my taxes and I get my receipts together and give them to my accountant or whatever. But then when I finish, the stress is gone, right? It's like poof,
Yeah.
right? It evaporates. It is completely gone. There's no more stress.
Yeah.
So, when you start turning the wheel of progress towards solving your problem, your stress automatically comes down, right? Like as soon as you take just the smallest action to work on your problem or problems, your stress is going to come down. Just taking the action, I'm working on it. Like your stress is coming down because you're working on it. And then when you solve it, stress is gone. So that's my last little encouragement for folks. It's like just taking the first steps to change your life is going to have an impact on how you feel and your stress level. And so I do want to encourage you to do that. And hopefully my books will be helpful to you. Chris Beat Cancer is the first one, and Beat Cancer Daily is a daily reader, daily devotional for encouragement and inspiration and practical advice. And then there's a new one called Beat Cancer Kitchen, which is all 100% plant-based recipe book. It's full color. It's gorgeous. The recipes are beautiful and delicious, and they're easy to make. They don't take long, and they're loaded with anti-cancer plants, fruits and veggies, whole grains, nuts and seeds, herbs and spices. You will love Beat Cancer Kitchen if you love eating delicious food.
You're making me hungry, Chris.
That's my pitch. It's not on screen, but Here it is. I'll show you the cover because there it is. There's the
Ah.
Cancer Kitchen right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're super excited about that book, and it just came out in November, so it's still pretty hot.
Oh man, I love that. I got your first book, and that hit me hard because my mom is a breast cancer survivor, and not shaming, just being real, right? Her lifestyle was heavy drinking, alcohol consumption, and lots of meat. You know, we are Jamaicans, so a lot of the oxtail and curry chicken and curry goat and
Oh yeah.
you know all of
Oh yeah,
that.
Jamaican jerk,
Yeah, and
jerk
thank
chicken.
God, yes, she went through the radiation, unfortunately, and she was put on the pills and all of that. Um, but she had to revamp, and the doctor, thank God, told her because people will listen to the doctor before they listen to their own family, right? So thank God, her doctor said, "You need to juice. You need to do your green juice every morning." And she got on that green juice and threw in the spinach and the cucumbers, and she began to lose weight, and it changed so much. And I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for you for stepping up. And you see how God was able to use you. Like you were struggling, you were going through adversity, through a storm, and is it funny how God had plans that were so much greater than what we can even imagine? He was like, I'm going to use this that he's going through to change the world, to impact lives. He's going to become a author. He's going to become a speaker, and he's going to totally impact people on a global scale. And so whatever you're going through, people, right, you think that it's the end of the world, and it may feel like all hope is lost, but keep pushing. Find that time to be quiet. Find an accountability partner. Find a good podcast like the Blaze the Lion podcast.
There we go. They've already found it if they're listening now. Well, James, the book of James, right? He says
Hmm.
faith without works is dead,
Yeah.
right? And what is works? Well, works is action,
Hmm.
right? Faith without action is dead. So just take some action to change your life, right? If you believe that you can change, you believe your life can get better, take some action, put some action where your faith is.
Yeah.
And my story is, it's a fun story to tell. It's an amazing testimony of God's blessing in my life. And yeah, you just have no idea what God has in store for you,
Hmm.
right? But you've got to take that first step, right? You got
Yeah.
to take that step of faith, get out of the boat, right? You got to take a step out into the unknown. It can be a little scary,
Hmm.
right? To change your life and to do things you've never done before. I get it, right? But that's where miracles happen. That's where amazing stuff happens in your life. If you just sit at home on the couch, right, and hope for the best, well, you're probably not going to have much adventure. And look, hey, I've got a recipe for your mom in the cookbook. You ready? Jerk pineapple steaks.
Ooh.
Check it out. Right here,
Ooh.
right here. Jerk
Ah.
pineapple steaks. So they're pineapple steaks with beans and rice, jerk seasoning. I'm telling you, this recipe is
Oh wow.
so good. I think you'll love it. There's a lot of different recipes. We love Cuban, we love Jamaican cuisine, we love Indian cuisine, like we love Thai. So there's a lot of uh, you know, homage recipes to some of our sort of cultural favorites.
Mhm.
And so that's our homage to Jamaican cuisine, and hopefully you love it. It's got to pass the mustard. If Jamaicans love it, then I'll feel extremely gratified. But I think you
Yeah,
will. Yeah.
definitely. We will let you know. I need to get that book because I since being vegan, I enjoy cooking. Prior to being vegan, I was bored.
Mm.
I was honestly bored with chicken like 5 times a week.
Yeah. Right.
Like it got
Right.
boring,
Yeah.
honestly.
Sure.
With vegan, it pushed me to get creative and create steaks out of pineapples, to use mushrooms, to use beans, and create these colorful, nutritious, right? Healing meals. So, yes, tell them in case they are lost, in case they've been hiding under a rock, in case they've been frozen or something. Tell them where they can pick up your amazing books.
Thank you. Well, all my books are on Amazon. They're also available through most major bookstores. Yeah, Chris Beat Cancer, Beat Cancer Daily, and Beat Cancer Kitchen. They're easy to find. You can just Google them. You'll find them, or find them on Amazon. And my website is called chrisbeatcancer.com. And I've interviewed dozens and dozens of survivors who've healed cancer, all types and stages, against the odds by doing the same things that I did. I've interviewed dozens and dozens of doctors and scientists and researchers who will help you understand whole food, plant-based nutrition and things like fasting and IV vitamin C and mistletoe, all kinds of fascinating topics. And so that's a free website. It's, there's hundreds of articles and interviews there for you if you want to learn and grow and help yourself heal or improve your health or prevent chronic disease. So I hope you'll dig into my website, jump on my email newsletter, and join our community, because we've got a just incredible community of survivors and thrivers.
Yes, absolutely. So you heard it. chrisbeatcancer.com. His books are available in bookstores. I got mine at the Barnes and Noble. It's on Amazon. It's all over. Thank you all for listening to the Blaze the Lion podcast. This is a special bonus episode, right, for this month of April. That is book authors. Shouts out to our sponsor, Star Child Social, for all your digital marketing needs. You're looking for a logo, for website design, for just overall branding for your business. Make sure you go to starchildsocial.com and tell them that Blaze sent you. Indeed, indeed. On YouTube, we are live every Tuesday night. So this episode here will be on the YouTube channel, the Blaze the Lion podcast. So make sure you subscribe and you like this here episode. All month, we're interviewing book authors. So stay tuned for this whole month of April. As mentioned before, May, we're going to tackle mental health. All right. And feel free to look at our playlist at all the past seasons and episodes. Right now, we're currently in season 3. In seasons 2 and beyond, we spoke to doctors. We spoke a lot about health, about real health. Not what they tell you is in a pill, right? But real health. We had vegan chefs on here, vegan restaurant owners. We had DJs on here. We had business owners. We had school teachers. We had principals. We had all sorts of guests on here. So thank you to my fans. Thank you to my audience. Thank you to the Blaze the Line movement for keeping us strong and keep pushing. And big, huge shouts to Chris Wark for his time, for being transparent, for sharing his story. It was definitely a blessing. I got some gems, and I'm sure you all did too. I'm going to pass it to Chris one last time in case he has any last words to say before we're out. Chris?
Last words. Thank you so much, Blaze, for having me on. Thank you for letting me share my story and some of the things that I've learned with your audience. It really means a lot to me to be able to share what I've learned and what I'm doing, and hopefully encourage and inspire more people. So keep up the good work, man. It's great to be on the same team with you.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll be letting you know, my mom and I will be letting you know about that recipe.
Jerk pineapple steaks.
Yes, yes,
Awesome.
absolutely. Thank you, man. Peace and love.